In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. My 5-year-old is like most 5-year-olds, and sometimes he's a little afraid of the dark. And he always asks, "Daddy, can I have my light on?" Have you ever heard that there's no such thing as darkness, but it's just an absence of light? I had to do a little research to make sure I was telling you right, because I don't want to just throw something in that makes me look smart. But the definition of darkness is really cool. Darkness is the absence of a unique light. So darkness isn't really a thing. It is just a lack of a thing, a unique thing, a light, a unique light. It's no secret that we live in dark times. We see it all around us. Hate is surrounding our political system. We have mass shootings, racism, human trafficking. I could go on for hours just talking about the darkness that is in our culture, in our country, and in our world. But Jesus faced the same problems. And when Jesus began His public ministry, His first message, He quotes Isaiah chapter 9, verses 1 and 2. The people living in darkness have seen a great light. And those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. When Jesus begins His public ministry, He went everywhere, to everybody, women, children, men, rich, poor, healthy, sick. Jesus came so that darkness could be interrupted. There's one light in this room, this one. This light is penetrating. It is the key element to this video. It is the key element to this room. Everything is drawn to it. And that was Jesus. And if this wasn't here, if this light was off, there would be darkness. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. It was very interesting timing when Jesus said this, because this is one of the first illustrated sermons ever, because He said this during or right after the Feast of the Tabernacles. And during the feast, they would erect this gigantic candelabra, and all the candles that were on it, they would illuminate the city below. And what it did was reminded the Hebrews of when God guided them in the wilderness, fire by day and smoke by night. And now Jesus is saying, I am that light. I am illuminating the world. And whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Probably my favorite service that we do all year is our Christmas Eve candlelight service. And when we get to that part of the service, everything goes dark except for the Christ candle. And then just a few moments later, the entire room is lit up with candles, but it started from just one, the Christ candle. You are the light of the world. Wait a second, Jesus, I thought you were the light. You said you were light. I can't be light. Who, me? I don't know how to be light. I didn't go to seminary. I'm not very faithful in my small group. I don't know what to do. How do I be light? You see, Jesus wants us to shine His light through us to change some dark places in our world. I had a student named Robert, and he came to me one day and he says, Adam, I'm tired of coming here and worshiping and not sharing it. So he decided he was going to take his light into dark places. He brought more of his friends to our student ministry than any other student that we ever had in 18 years of student ministry. He worked in the inner city in a dream center. He was passing out food. He was playing with kids. He was helping the homeless. He worked in the neighborhoods around our church, just being a light. He was a light into his family, and he didn't have really any believers in his family, but Robert decided he was going to be light. Jesus meets the demon-possessed man in Mark chapter 5, and when he cast out the demons, the man tries to get back on the boat with Jesus to leave. But Jesus says this in Mark chapter 5, verse 18 through 20. Go home to your own people. Tell them your story, what the Master did, how he had mercy on you. The man went back and began to preach in the 10 towns area about what Jesus had done for him, and he was the talk of the town. The man had no training, no seminary, no Sunday school class, no small group. He just knew that he had to go tell his story. And he began, I love the phrase, he began to preach. And all he did was tell his story. And maybe you're sitting there, I didn't go to seminary. I'm not really involved in a small group. I don't know much. But you know your story. You know how Jesus saved you. You can tell that story, and that brings light. And now this man who did just that is the talk of the town. And this man who met light, he met the light of the universe, met the light of the world. He didn't just keep it inside. He spread that light. This world is full of darkness, and we need a generation of light. We need people that will want to share their light with others, to take it into the dark places, to take it where nobody else will go. Think about it. If we would take our light to the dark places where nobody else would go, we would light up the darkness, the dark places together in our worlds. Look at this room. At the very beginning of the session, there was one light. Then it expanded. And now the only light that's in this room is the lights that have been lit. No camera lights, nothing. It's just that light. And this light takes over the room. We need some people that are not afraid to go and take their light into the dark, dangerous places, wherever that is. There's a famous story about Joan of Arc. The French army was pinned down, and the only way to win the battle was to scale over this wall that was right in front of them. But it was a ridiculous move because the chances of death were very high for every individual person. And Joan of Arc went to the old grizzled general and said, "Sir, I will lead the men over the wall." And this old grizzled man looks back at her and says, "Respectfully, madame, not a man will follow you." And Joan of Arc looked at him straight in his eyes and said, "I won't be looking back to see who's following me." Are you ready to take your light into the dark places of your world, even if nobody follows you? Who will you be ready to share your light? Light is never intimidated by darkness. In fact, light has interrupted darkness because darkness really doesn't exist. It is the absence of a unique light. And you have that light. I have that light. That unique light is Jesus.